Welcome to this video, the top 3 actions you can take right now to make the most of your time during lockdown and build relationships that will benefit your property journey. So this is what we are quickly going to cover in this video. The reason I'm recording this is I thought it's really crazy times that we're experiencing right now. The way that we normally do things obviously has gone completely out of the window. Just trying to re-engineer the way I do business, the way I look at things and the opportunities that are out there. Just thought it was a good idea to share some of the things I'm doing right now that we're achieving success and building also for a future that is now going to be, even with the uncertainties, yes, I guess we don't necessarily know what's going to come our way. So this video is going to give you some tips and hints. I'm sure you're already embracing the lockdown, and this really is an opportunity to share some ideas. I'm going to be sharing 3 things that I'm doing right now that will massively help what you're doing. It's all about building relationships, and now is a really good time. People have got time to have those relationships develop. Get busy talking to lots of people, and the benefits of that will last way beyond the lockdown period. In terms of when you can expect to see results, I saw results really quickly. The kind of conversations that I've been having have been really positive, and I'm going to share some of the things I've been talking about, and hopefully you can benefit from them really quickly too. Before we get started, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell to receive notifications. Thanks very much for watching. I'm going to be sharing a very special offer at the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned right to the end. I'm Tim Matcham, known as the Property Finance Coach, and I'm a mentor, a property investor, and a best-selling author. I wrote a book called How to Attract Armchair Investors for Property, which got to be a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And that's also available on Audible too. And actually, the Audible version outsells the paperback version by about 10 to 1, although I know many people who've bought both the paperback and the Audible version. It's had some great reviews, and I know people who've read it have benefited massively from the content. I actively invest in property myself, and I work actively with investors. So I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk as well. And I have at the last count 2 property companies, as well as my own private investing. The first action #1, get super clear on what you want from property. This will make it much easier for you to share when you're talking with estate agents and investors. If you're talking to estate agents and investors, being really clear about what you want and what you want to achieve and what your expectations are on property makes it much easier. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. So action #1 is to really focus on your strategy. The reason I say that is because I was having a conversation recently with someone who said, Tim, I've got my strategy. And I said, great, that's fantastic. Yes, she said, I'm going to do serviced accommodation. Brilliant. Yes, I'm going to do it in London, Derby, Manchester, Liverpool, and Bristol. And I said, that's not one strategy, that's 5 strategies. You can't possibly hope to get sufficient traction in any one of those areas to have any chance of succeeding in that space. If the maximum you can do is just 20%, so that's 1 day a week on each of those areas, you're never going to get good enough. You're never going to know the area well enough, and you're never going to get to know the pricing, the agents, what's going on in the area well enough to be able to succeed. So particularly when you're starting out, be really crystal clear on what you're looking for and understand why this is what you're after. Again, when I'm talking to my mentees, I really impress upon them the need to understand what they want from property. Why is it they're doing it? I hear so many people who are perhaps doing a rent-to-rent strategy, And I ask them why they're doing rent to rent. And incidentally, there's nothing wrong with rent to rent if it's the right thing for you. But when you establish that their long-term goal is actually to build a portfolio, maybe to provide a legacy for their children, whatever it might be, it's not in alignment with the strategy. So they're doing it because they think it's the only thing they can do, rather than something that's actually going to help them to achieve what it is they're after from working in property. Having established what your strategy is, the next thing to know is exactly your numbers on what works for you and why. One of my mentors is a guy called Andy Gwynn, who I'm sure many of you will have come across. And he talks about something called the reticular activating system, your RAS, which is a filter. It's actually a primitive part of the brain, and I believe it's at the top of the spine. What this filter does is it filters out all of the extra information. We're bombarded with stimulants all of the time, and our brain filters all that out so we can cope with it. What it does is it shows us the things that we tell it are important to us. So again, the clearer we can be about what it is we're looking for. One of the best ways of describing how the reticular activating system works is if you've ever gone into a car showroom and spec'd up a car, and you've gone in and let's say you've chosen a black Golf GTI. And when you come away from the showroom and all of a sudden every other car on the road is a black Golf GTI to the exact same specification as the one you have just spec'd up in the showroom. They were there all the time, but you didn't send a message out to the world that you were actually interested in that. So it wasn't showing you them. Right, that's something I want. That's something I'm interested in. Your reticular activating system kicks in and shows you those things. So the clearer you can get about what you're looking for, the easier it is for your natural system to kick in and help you and support you in what you're doing. And now is a brilliant time to be doing that, because you've got time to physically look at where you are going and what you are doing and why you're going there. I certainly have had more time working on my business than time working in the business during this lockdown period. And that's given me time to reflect exactly on where I'm going and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So getting that clarity now is a stunningly good time to be doing that. You should be doing it anyway, but now is a really good time to be doing it if you're not. The other question you need to ask yourself with this is, who are you going to work with? Property is very much a people business. Trying to do it on your own is hard work. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean to say you have to be physically in business with a business partner or with other people, but you can leverage the skills and the input that your power team and support team can provide you, whether they're accountability partners, buddies, people who are sharing the journey with you in some way that can reflect of. As I say, property can be really lonely if you're working on your own. I know there are some people who work in partnership with their life partner, but finding somebody who you gel with, who you share the same value, is a huge support. It's also worth understanding the various different skill sets that you have. I work with a profiling system called Contribution Compass, which is a very powerful profiling tool based on the ancient Chinese I Ching. And it really helps you to understand where your strengths are and where you should be looking for help and support. The value of that is that it also helps you understand your strengths. It makes it easier to share them with other people. Now, if you think that you find it difficult to do certain things, bear in mind that somebody else probably finds it difficult to do the things that you find easy when you're in your flow. And therefore, matching yourself up with somebody in that space is going to be massively beneficial to both of you. So getting clarity on where you're going, what you're doing, how you're going to get there, who is going to be part of your plan, is a really good exercise to do now. So dig deep into that. There's all sorts of other aspects to Contribution Compass that work really well too, but we haven't got time or the scope in this particular video to be able to cover that off. It's a really good place to start though, and it's where I recommend everybody starts right now. The clearer you can get with your strategy before you get started, the better. So that's action number one. Action number two. Action number two is to establish and build relationships with estate agents and letting agents. And as I said just now, property is a people business and relationships are key. Why is this important right now? Most agents are actually on shutdown and operating only a fairly minimum staffing level. However, they can't do viewings at the moment and they can't progress sales other than a few that may be started before lockdown. But now they have time to talk, and the kinds of things that you can ask them about are what property they have on the market, what might happen to the market once we're through lockdown. There are lots of different opinions, and different people in different areas will have different things coming out for them. What are the concerns of their clients, the people who are looking to sell? Have they got any clients that may be in trouble? Can you help any of those vendors in an ethical way? Is there something you can do through your education in property that will help you to help them and also help the agents as well? And you might also reflect on how does that match with your strategy that you've just spent time actually working on to try and do it. And you might want to rethink your strategy based on the kind of conversations that you're having with estate agents and letting agents at this stage. The reason I say this is I've spoken to a number of agents recently, and we've actually been able to, through having cash available from investors, been able to secure deals. We'd been negotiating on one particular property. We'd been to view it 2 or 3 times ahead of the lockdown. An offer was put in by a third party, literally the day before lockdown. We were interested, but we were concerned about what lockdown was going to bring and where the market might go. I left it for about 3 weeks, and I noticed while I was looking on Rightmove that the particular property that we'd been interested in was still on the market. It hadn't got that little red sticker saying sold subject to contract. So I called the agent and I said, okay, is this an oversight? Is this something you're just so short-staffed that you haven't been able to put the marker up yet? Or is there a problem? What's the situation? That agent then shared with me what the offer was on the property, and they shared why they hadn't put the sold subject to contract on it. And the reason was the people who were looking to buy hadn't been able to show them proof of funds because of their situation, because of the lockdown situation. They hadn't been able to show them proof of funds, nor had they shown them proof of ID or proof of address. Fairly straightforward things, but they hadn't been done. The key in this is the fact that they hadn't got proof of funds. So I spoke to them at length. We had about a half an hour, 40-minute chat. And I said, look, I don't know what the situation is with this, but would the vendor be open to receiving another offer at this stage? The agent said, yes, I believe they would, because they'd felt let down by the person who put the offer in the first instance. So we waited 24 hours while the vendor mulled over the offer. And they came back and they said, yes, we'd be delighted to accept the offer. Within an hour or two of that, we were able to show proof of funds, and we were able to provide proof of ID and proof of address. And we were also able to share our solicitor's details with them to say, right, we're serious, take this off the market, which they did. So we secured that deal, which technically had already been lost. But because we could show proof of funds, we were able to get back in. So building a relationship with an estate agent, finding out where their challenges are, you will find that there are property deals out there that have maybe been potentially sold, that actually there's an opportunity to get back in there if you've got funds available. So that brings us to action 3. Action 3 is to establish and build relationship with armchair investors. Now, many investors will be considering their options right now and will have cash available right now. Obviously, the stock market has taken a bit of a tumble recently. It's actually rebounded just a little bit in the last few days. It's back over 6,000 points a little bit earlier on this week. So it's clawed its way back up from its lowest point, but people are going to be looking really closely at where their money is and what their options are in terms of investing. They'll be looking to diversify. And these are people who've got maybe inheritance, SAS pensions, maybe have savings, and they're going to be looking for reliable places, reliable options for them to be able to put their money to get a decent return. And as property investors, we're exceptionally well placed to be able to do that. Yes, of course, there are risks associated with investing in property, just in the same way there's a risk attached to any investment. And of course, the higher rate of return, the higher the risk. And we need to be clear and transparent about this. There are risks associated with it. We don't know what the market's going to do. None of us have got a crystal ball. But if we follow some basic rules about investing in property, and we know our numbers, and we know exactly where we're going, what we're doing, and how we're doing it, we can find that there are opportunities out there right now. So what can you offer these investors? What benefit can you offer to investors, to people who've got cash, whether it's from inheritance, and we know there are going to be people out there who are sitting on inheritance cash, people who've got money tied up in pension funds. These are all places we can access funds. If we can do that, we've got a massive opportunity right now. I said this was short and sweet. So action number 1 is to focus on your strategy. Be really clear about what it is you want to do, how you're going to do it, and what resources you need. What team around you do you need? Action 2 is to establish and build relationship with estate agents so that you can understand what their challenges are. They are there, available to talk. I've spoken to a number of agents recently. They've all got time to talk and share their knowledge of the current market and what their expectations are. What I've established also is that they all talk to each other. An estate agent in one branch of one company probably has got friends in branches of other companies in other parts of the country, or maybe even locally, and they talk. So they've got a really fresh, on-the-ground view of what's actually happening in the market right now. Building relationships with investors, a cracking time to be talking to investors. Asking that question, what if we came up with a project exactly like this? Is that something you may be interested in exploring? Who do you know who'd be interested in investing in this kind of project once we're able to invest? And there may be empty properties that we can actually invest in right now if we had the funds available, because there's less of an issue with doing viewings. If you've got investors, you will have cash available to do deals, better deals, while everyone else is still sorting themselves out. The finance market is changing rapidly on a day-to-day basis. There's going to be some turmoil out there. I think there's no doubt about that. But if you've got cash readily available to do deals, you'll put yourself in a really strong position to maximize your opportunity as soon as we come out of that. So I hope that's been of value to you. 3 quick, easy top tips, things that can get on with right away and take action on straight away now. I mentioned at the beginning that I had a special offer for you. I'm launching Property Ambition, an online course designed to help you attract armchair investors. I'll share the link in the description below. The launch price for this is just £650, but that will increase to £750 at the end of May. So make sure you get in there quick. And we'll be sharing lots of bonus materials as part of this. we're looking to get feedback from people who sign up so that we can add even more value as we go. Thanks very much. See you soon. I wish you every success in your property journey.